Hey YouTube, Brian LCS. Thanks for stopping by the channel. In this video, a little triple threat here. We're going to review 3 recent Spider-Man books. I'm a little behind on my reviews, so I figured I'd put them all together in a single video. So up first, well, one of the books we're going to review is Spider-Man number 4. We'll get to that shortly. And Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 3. But we're going to start with Miles Morales number 2. So there's going to be spoilers ahead for each of these books. So if you don't want to be, spoiled, you can, whether skip the video or I'll have time codes down below for each of the different reviews if you want to check out one book and not the other. So let's jump in. This is issue number 2 of Miles Morales Spider-Man. This is the, rebooted series. And we have Cody Ziegler writing and Federico Vecchini as the artist. So let's kind of jump in. I'm going to try to go, move quickly. But this has really been a good story. We see, this kind of reminds me of the, early days of Peter Parker. We have Miles kind of dealing with, balancing everything in his life, being a superhero, schoolwork, his relationships with his friends and his, parents. And so, he's a little bit down on his luck right now. He got suspended from school because he was kind of talking back to one of his teachers, and the teacher kind of made an example out of him. And so he knows if he goes out and, swings around the city, that always makes him feel, better. But he's also dealing with some things that he came across in issue number 1 with the Scorpion. And so, he's trying to kind of figure out what was going on with Scorpion and Bumbler, who was also, had some additional tech since the last time they met. And so when he's out swinging, he runs into Misty Knight. And they decide to, kind of team up because they're kind of investigating the same, technology. And so there's a nice little interaction with him and Misty, and she's kind of, he's kind of thinking as like a team up or, and she's like, look, I'm just, you can come along, but I'm doing what I'm doing. But we see throughout, the issue that he's dealing with his friends. His good bud, Cranky, is calling and checking in on him. And it's just, he's struggling with balancing, like I said, being Spider-Man and the relationships with his friends. And so Misty Knight and him stumble on, a crime going on. And then they get into it with these criminals. And then we have the Scorpion come in, and so he's now powered up. There's some type of, technology and, upgrades that, they're trying to figure out where they're coming from and, who's at the heart of it. So we've got this, fight scene between Misty, Miles, and Scorpion. And again, Miles' friends are trying to reach out to him, and they're not getting any replies. But meanwhile, he's in the middle of throwing punches with Scorpion. And then we see the new character that was kind of teased in the last issue, who is kind of had Miles in his sights and looks like she is definitely all teched up. And she's actually going after his friend, and we see, kind of the cliffhanger where, she has taken her out and she has sights on, his other friends and family members. And that's kind of where the issue drops off, ends, kind of a cliffhanger. And we see, Miles with the new villain, and I'm drawing a blank on the villain's name. I apologize. Let me see if they actually mentioned it here. I forget if they do. But no, I don't. I'll add it. But overall, this has really been a great start to this new series, issues 1 and 2. Very just basic story, right? He's dealing with all of the things in his life, being a superhero, dealing with his friends, dealing with his parents, dealing with school, right? It kind of feels like probably any one of our lives, other than being a superhero, right? We have a lot of things that pull at us, from time to time, in your life, work, family, relationships, those type of things. So I think this series is off to a really great start and very, like I said, a very basic kind of story, but well written. Art is done really well. So, considering my 5 webhead review system, I'm going to go with a solid 4 for this issue. I think if you are any type of Miles Morales fan, if you're not reading this is a great time to jump in. Or if you were kind of looking for a jump-in point on Miles Morales, this is only issue number 2. This is your time to get in on Miles Morales Spider-Man. Definitely a great start to the series, great artwork, and a great read. All right, up next we have Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 3. And this is a miniseries, and so writers are Taboo and B. Earl, and the art is done by Juan Ferreira. Overall, this has been a good series, but let's kind of jump in. And so Spider-Man is out on the West Coast. He's doing some research work with another college student, and he's come across this, mystic stone, and it's basically, as we can see, kind of implanted in his chest, and there is some, carving, and there's basically a path that he needs to follow on this stone. That's kind of where we're at, and this story's kind of been a little, we're dealing with some magic and mystical stuff, and obviously a little bit of a different storyline for Spider-Man, hence the name Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man. But we see, we're seeing this, story kind of jump back and forth between the real world and, this mystical world. We don't know what is real or what is, imaginary or, in this mystical realm. And so, we don't know if Peter Parker is kind of imagining this or is it actually happening. And so, he comes to contact with this crow who's basically leading him on his path and kind of guiding him on what he needs to do to kind of solve this riddle, with this stone and the carvings in the stone. And, we know we've seen Demon Bear in a past issue, and he knows he needs to, solve this riddle, or, evil and evil spirits will be let loose in the real world. Again, we see him now dealing with this, trying to figure out the path and the puzzle, with the stone. And again, we're not sure if this stuff is real. Is that writing on the mirror in the bathroom real, or is it things that he's just imagining? And in walks his, or knocks and walks in his, science partner, and some of the things that we just saw are now gone. So, and there's an interesting connection with the science partner. They've been kind of living together, working out. So there definitely seems to be some type of connection here. I don't know if it's, a love interest for Parker. I mean, why not, right? He gets all the ladies. But there's definitely something going on. Definitely a connection there. Let's put it that way. And so, the story progresses, and they're actually supposed to be, going out to visit Joshua Tree. And even the science partner is seeing some of these, weird things. But, she has a connection to the, the mystical rock. Her grandfather had told her stories of the legends, when she was a small child. And so they're out to go on a day trip, with some friends to, Joshua Tree. And they're driving out in the desert. and Peter begins to see things. And again, we're not sure if this is actually real or in his mind. And we kind of see their car, Jeep that they're driving, kind of flying and going off the road, and then all of these crows coming in, and Peter is basically taken by them. And then the final page is, he's larger than life, Spider-Man, and saying he's coming after Demon Bear. And that's kind of where we end the story. So, like overall, like I said, this is really kind of a departure from what we typically see with Spider-Man, right? Fish out of water. He's in California. He's out in the desert. He's dealing with things that he normally doesn't with, mystical, magical legend type stuff. So I've enjoyed it. It's been a different departure, than him typically being in New York City and dealing with what he normally does. So I've enjoyed it. I think this is only a 4-issue limited series, so I think this is issue 3. So we'll wrap up next issue. But overall, solid story. Artwork is good. A little bit different than what we used to because of the different things that we're seeing. But again, thinking about my review system, I'll go with a solid 3 webheads for Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 3. Now, last but not least is Spider-Man number 4. Now, this is the Dan Slott ongoing series. This is actually a homage cover, so not your standard, A cover. It's kind of a throwback to a team-up cover. And we'll take a look at the creative team. Like I said, Dan Slott writing, Mark Bagley art. The artwork has been outstanding in this series. And, the writing, I think, is, well, we'll get into it. The writing is a little confusing because there is so much going on in the story. I mean, we open up with some additional spider characters from within the Spider-Verse, and they're, out looking for some information. And it's just, there's so many different story threads going on throughout this issue. I mean, it's certainly fun to see the various spider characters. And we have, the big bad villain, Sathra, who is trying to unravel the web of life and basically put an end to all of the, Spider-Man characters. And so we saw that last issue where Peter Parker, Spider-Man from the 616 was removed from the web of life. Same thing with Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew in issue number 1. And so now the, Spider-Verse is trying to figure out a way to bring them back and stop Sathia. Or Sathra. And so again, you look at these panels, the artwork is done, really well, but there's so many spider characters and so much going on, even for somebody who's familiar with the spider characters, it is, just a lot to kind of keep track of, let's put it that way. But like I said, the teams are on a mission to stop, the villain, and then figure out a way to get, the Peter Parker and Jessica Drew, who have been, removed from the web of life, back. And the one advantage that was revealed last issue was that Miles Morales, since he's basically from 2 different universes, he's able to. He was stung by one of the Sathia's wasps, who basically would turn them in under her control. But since he's from 2 different universes, he was turned and kind of has the the evil look, but is still in control of his mind and his thoughts. So he's not kind of a drone. And so since he has that ability, he went to confront Sathra Sathra, I believe that's the character's name, directly, but he is foiled. And so we're back to, Earth 616, the beta world where some of the Spider team has been kind of hiding out. And Madam Web is trying to figure out a plan to, kind of get things back together again. And then we cut back now. Miles Morales is captured, as we can see up here. But he's then in kind of a dungeon with other Spider-Verse characters who were unable to be turned as well. And so we kind of see Spider Buggy there. We see a Spider-Man, I guess, from a video game, and a couple other different characters. And so it's just another thread that's kind of added to the through the storyline of now we have this other little pocket of Spider characters. And so again, there's this back and forth where they're trying to figure out a way to stop what's going on. And then we see that there is a Jessica Drew, or I'm sorry, Madam Web has found a way to bring back another Spider-Man, but in this case, it's Peter Palmer. So, and you can see it kind of has the classic 60 look of Spider-Man. And I guess this is kind of a reference to, in I think issue 1 or 2 of Spider-Man, if there was a typo or a name change, but there was a point where they actually called him Peter Palmer instead of Peter Parker. And so it's kind of a throwback. But what we find out is he's kind of a little bit of a goof. He wants to know, how much he's going to be paid for this. And, he's a big star. And so I'm not sure how that's going to pan out. But then we cut to, Oscorp in the current universe, the Earth 616. And we see, some scientists and some work going on. And we find out that none other than Peter Parker is alive in the 616, where we thought we saw Spider-Man get removed from the web of life. So, and that's kind of where the issue ends. So I'm really not sure where that's going to lead. Could it be that Peter Parker's, Spider-Man got removed, but not the actual Peter Parker? So only next issue will tell kind of where it leaves us. Overall, I've enjoyed the artwork. The story is just a little complicated. There are so many different characters, like I said, and so many different story threads happening, A, B, C, D stories, that it's a little tough to keep track of. Overall, I like the writing. I like the artwork, but I don't like the way the writing is. It's just so complicated. There's so many different threads that it's hard to follow. It's hard to kind of, you're kind of second guessing, which story thread am I on? And so I think if it wasn't as complicated, a little bit more simple of a story, I think this could really be a home run. But I'm going to stick with it. This is a new ongoing series by Dan Slott. Dan Slott has a lot of history with Spider-Man. So I'm going to stick with it. I think once we get through this Spider-Verse story arc, I think this could be a solid storyline moving forward. I think we're going to have a few of these Spider characters from the expanded universe kind of maybe come out. I think there's been one character in here. I believe her name is Night Spider. It's basically the Black Cat from a different universe, who's been kind of where is she? Night Spider, I think they call her. Let me find her just so you can see. I think she's been the standout. She's here, right here. So I think she's been the standout, and I think there could be something. We could see more of her in the future. But overall, I'm gonna go with a 2.5 web heads for the story. again, it's just too complicated. There's too many things going on and too many characters to kind of keep track of. It's almost, it's one of those stories that you read and almost kind of hurts your brain. So that's it, guys. Those are the reviews of the 3 recent Spider-Man books. Spider-Man number 4, Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 3, and Miles Morales number 2. Let me know what you think. If you're reading any one of these stories, what do you think of the stories? Which is your favorite? For me, Miles Morales is certainly my favorite. Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man, I know there's kind of an end to it. It's a mini series. So, I like to see this kind of fish out of water story. And then Spider-Man, I'm holding hope that once we get through the Spider-Verse story arc that, this could be a good standalone Spider-Man story. So we'll see. But thanks for watching. Like I said, let me know down below what you think, what you're reading, what you're enjoying. Thanks for watching.